This is the Throneroom stage. Is this the true final? The tyrant reigns. HitEmUp dismissed his first challenger without breaking a sweat. Vicious openers, cheeky tactics, and an imperious macro machine sent Art of Turtle to the lower bracket. Now, the last remaining Protoss is next in line. This matchup will be a true test. Can the best player Cosmonarchy has ever seen continue his flawless run? His Protoss championship awaits. Neblime's playing on hard mode, facing what many consider to be the final boss in the second round of playoffs. The champion of Acropolis number 1 may have made it past his first challenger without dropping a map. But now, he's got it all to prove. Up against the best player of the modern age. Will yesteryear's champion defy the odds? It's time to find out. HitEmUp! Neblime! Throneroom! Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for day 3 of the Throneroom stage, and I hope you all brought your 7s because Veek is here. What's up, my man?
Oh, well, yeah. I'm just randomly hopping in for probably the most epic match of the tourney, so...
That's right.
That's pretty epic. I can't wait to see that.
I know, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of narratives colliding here. We got HitEmUp, the reigning champion of the most recent big-scale tournament we had. Of course, that was Tyrant's Tale, telling his own story there. Versus Neblime, the reigning Acropolis champion, who is now looking for a Protoss victory. And that's the only way he'll be able to pick a SCOZY in Acropolis number 3 next year. So I'm just saying, if he wants to play the new race when it comes out in a tournament that is actually one of these big-scale ones, he's going to have to win here. And at some point, he's going to have to beat HitEmUp. It might not be today. We are in the upper bracket. Loser here goes on to face the winner of actually our match that's going to be taking place tomorrow, the Shambler versus Cannoli. However, I would still say at this point, we got to see if HitEmUp is going to make good on that flawless run. If he wins here 3-0, then honestly, at that point, he's kind of my lock for the whole tournament. There's really no chance that anybody else can beat him. I'm already calling it. But this is an interesting situation, Veek, because this is where we could really dial in on player personalities. Because honestly, I mean, I'm saying this in full well knowledge that our players are most likely listening into the stream. They're going to be hearing this commentary. But I just feel like HitEmUp could 3-0. But if Neblime takes one game, he could also kind of take the whole series. That's my analysis, and not because of HitEmUp's play. It's because of HitEmUp's own mentality coming into it. I'm sitting here hoping I'm hyping him up with his music choice and his hype video and stuff, but he could just as easily be like, oh no, I lost one map. I guess that's it for the whole tournament.
Yeah, he is known for getting pretty stressed during tourneys. Like, he even lost like match against me, which should never happen. So...
Right, it was the six pool, the
you
move
know,
that you did against him. That was the first match he played on Tyrant's Tale. He ends up beating you up afterwards, right? 3-1 at the end.
Yeah.
But that is an important point to bring up too, Veek, is that like, you know, he was about like half of mine to just forfeit the rest of that series. So,
yeah,
you know,
he didn't say he forfeit.
yeah.
So.
If he steals his mind, if he creates an iron dome around his brain, he would be able to ape toss his way to victory. But also, that's another factor. Is he even going to get Protoss in the series? It's eluded him
That's
so
what
far.
I wanted to say. It's like, it really depends on what he rolls, because if he rolls like Zerg 3 times in a row, might be... I don't know, actually, I don't know what his weakest matchup against Neblime is. I'd assume it's... I don't know, because EVP I know is an abomination, right?
So okay, I can give you some information here, because Neblime has already said he hopes that he gets Zerg, since for whatever reason Neblime believes that like HitEmUp is HitEmUp has a block on Zerg, and like if he rolls Zerg, he's not going to play well or something like that. That's like Neblime's analysis. We'll get him in here for an interview later on to talk. But HitEmUp has said that if he plays Zerg against any Protoss, best of 69, he goes 35-0. That's his own words right then and there. He says he will not drop a map ZVP ever. So if that's how he feels, and he ends up rolling Zerg, then yeah, I mean, maybe at that, like, they both want him to roll Zerg at this point. So it's kind of funny. I would say if you're looking for a weakness here, Neblime has shown mastery versus Terran so far. He obviously struggled a little bit in battlements against AUD64. He was able to defeat Shopkeeper Dog in both games. He beat AUD64 once, and then he massively adapted to that style and 3-0'd Top Ramen in the quarterfinals. So we're talking PVT. That's basically where all of his experience is in this tournament so far. And if HitEmUp rolls Terran, he himself has said that TVP can be challenging. So whether or not it's going to be challenging enough for HitEmUp himself to falter, that is its own ordeal. But that kind of also brings us to our map pool here. Spinal Tap, a map with no ramps into the natural or into the main. A place where Protoss runs amok versus Terran, and a place where apparently HitEmUp believes that Zerg is massively favored overall. That was HitEmUp's map pick to start our series off, and I think that alone is worth some words. What do you think, Vee?
And can you show the maps? I don't think they show up.
Oh, yeah, sure. I can go ahead and pop them up on the stream, but I can also DM you the veto here, because I do have that. You can see what our maps are going to end up being. There was Blackwater Bastion banned by HitEmUp. He does not like that map whatsoever because of past experiences with it against Hamster all those months ago now. Neblime ends up getting Check Stealer vetoed. Luckily enough, he was going to veto that anyway, but apparently the random gods looked upon him because he was like AFK for a moment, and then it timed him out and randomed it. But he got his roll anyway.
Nice.
He got his roll anyway. So.
Okay, so we have Muspelheim, and we have Near Impact, Spinal Tap, Decapitation, and Paradise. So 3 2-player maps and 2 4-player maps.
Yes, it's no surprise Neblime picks the 4 spawns. He wants to keep as much distance between himself and his opponent as possible.
That's interesting. Is I think he fused the macro game against HitEmUp. He can be a beast in macro scenarios.
Yeah, you would think.
But maybe the timings are what he fears more.
Yeah, HitEmUp does like his early game. He likes his button pushing. He likes to make a lot of units. I don't know. It's really hard to find a weakness for HitEmUp in his play itself. Again, you have to look to the external things, like, are his nerves going to be inflamed? Is he going to be under stress? Like, if not for that, if he's able to sort of staunch that, I mean, he's just unbeatable. He's unplayable. You can't even step to him.
There's probably a reason why he chose an ape as his avatar. So, I mean, he just clicks stuff and they happen, right?
That's right. It's a Protoss ape. I think it was generated by Jujic, or maybe he just found it on Google or something. But either way.
Yeah, what's the AI generated? I don't know.
Yeah. It almost certainly is. That being said, Spinal Tap as our decider, rampless map into the mains and naturals means that if HitEmUp gets Protoss, we could be in for a very heated match. Listen, if he gets Zerg, I'm going to call it right there. HitEmUp's going to take that opening map. And this might be, I don't know how much professional StarCraft 1 you end up watching, Veek, but in the professional leagues, thinking of ASL, SSL, they often have this this constant thing that they say, and I'm not going to be invoking the phrase, want to show good games for the fans, because that's what they all say too. That's a meme. But when it comes to them talking about the pregame interview, before they get to the point where they pander to the fans, they say, if I win the first map, I'm going to win the whole series. That's something that happens all the time. It comes out of all these pros' mouths. This could unironically be a case where that happens. Whoever wins this first map could actually go on to win the whole series because of some of the pressure-based things we talked about with regards to HitEmUp's sort of thought process coming into the game and emotional state, maybe.
I could still see HitEmUp like winning 2 matches and then Neblime reverse sweeping just because of the mentality, right? Like the mindset.
I guess it could be that.
It could be like he could think that he's so close and then get nervous and like fumble have some mistakes and etc. So
yeah,
it could happen, although I don't know.
Yeah,
I have not monitored his performance so far, so it's just anecdotal, I guess.
Yeah, it's champ versus champ, and that's the really exciting storyline that we've got going into this match. That being said, this is one of those weird ones where you either call it like. You either call it 3-0 in favor of HitEmUp or you call it 3-whatever in favor of Neblime. It feels like such a swingy series. Like, you know, because if Neblime wins one map, to your point, Veek, it could be the beginning of the end. That could be the snowball. And so I'm sure, anyway, if Neblime starts to get ahead, HitEmUp will start replaying these thoughts in his head instead of hitting the buttons, and that will be Neblime's key to victory. We're setting you're up for success here, Neblime. We hope that you take it. With that being said, Veek, do you feel like hearing from HitEmUp himself? Because he is ready for an interview. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, you are now going to be bestowed upon the voice of the tyrant. HitEmUp has joined us in the casting booth. How are you feeling ahead of your match against Neblime, sir?
I honestly can't say very good, but let's see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes. Yeah, I feel like overall, HitEmUp, this is how every pregame interview goes. You know, if I had sat you down for a pregame interview before the gauntlet matches, you know, I remember back to you thinking that you weren't going to even qualify out there. Then you end up making it flawlessly as you do. Your battlement stage was kind of the same deal. Your match against Art of Turtle, you had some confidence, you had some swagger, but you were also like uncertain and maybe not entirely focused. So I don't know. This is kind of par for the course, man. Are you talk to me about Spinal Tap? Why'd you end up picking that? What's the thought process there?
I mean, if the match goes the way I think it will, if I get Zerka Protoss, I should win that. If I get Terran and I win on that map, then I'm confident winning any of the maps.
Yes. Am I right to say that you believe Terran is not favored on that map versus Protoss? That seems like a pretty, milquetoast take to be saying these days.
I don't think it's the most unfavored map in the pool for Terran, but it's slightly in the favor of Protoss in that matchup.
Right, and you believe the matchup overall is still favored in favor of Protoss, right? If you think about PvT specifically.
If they play a specific way, but I don't think Neblime plays that way.
Oh, okay, interesting. Because we were sitting here trying to think about, like, okay, is Terran going to be your weakness versus Neblime since he's practiced so much against it? But you're sitting here saying, actually, Neblime has to play a certain style. He needs to get that HitEmUp game count up higher, right? Isn't that right?
Apparently. I don't know.
Well, Veek, I have to ask you how you feel about seeing Muspelheim as the decider here, because this is, of course, your map. If we go 5 games, that could be a map that we see HitEmUp cement his legacy on. What do you think?
I feel like that map can be wild, so... it's a pretty short map. It has some wacky bases. One is super exposed, one is pretty inaccessible. Generally, the bases are exposed after none. So, it can be pretty wild. It's very open, too. Right?
It's really worth pointing out here, too, that HitEmUp could have picked Rage Slave as the decider. Did you decide to pick Muspelheim for any particular reason, HitEmUp?
I kind of got angry that I accidentally banned Demiloon, so I'm like, whatever, I'll pick another 2-player map.
Oh, okay.
Map.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that ban as well. Okay, that was meant to be a pick?
That was meant to be a pick, but like I'm tired as hell right now. So
I gotcha.
I was up all night basically like theory crafting in my head and being nervous as shit, and I didn't fall asleep until like 6, 7 in the morning.
Right, and it's local time here. It's only 1 p.m. I'm assuming your Eastern time as well. So not much sleep then, right? You got maybe 6 hours, maybe.
Not even, but should be good enough.
You did see some practice games courtesy of Arbus. That help you shake off some of the nerves?
I mean, it's the games aren't going to play the same in the tournament as they will in practice, but they were some very one-sided games, so I'm pretty confident.
There you go. I do wonder about that. Like, if you end up scoring some good practice in the sense that you trade games back and forth, do you personally feel like that's actually worse for you ahead of a match versus just stomping somebody else who's a top player or top adjacent? Like, did the fact that those games are one-sided, did that fuel you more than if they had been like close practice versus someone trying to play like Neblime? Or how would you break that down?
I mean, it's somewhat like that. Like, before my group stage in Gauntlet or whatnot, I played some games against AOT, and I lost a really dumb game, and then going into that, I was really upset. It didn't go so well, but...
Right. Well, then you just made Izira cores and beat Gerald immediately, so, there's still...
Those are good units.
Yeah. All right. Maybe we'll even see those versus Neblime. He does like his Legionnaire. Izira core is good against Legionnaires. Just saying, we could have that. We definitely won't see that, but we could. It could be.
Could be a thing.
Veek, do you have any closing questions for our resident tyrant? Do you have any thoughts you want to share before we swap him out for Neblime for the second part of our interview?
Yeah, I'm not sure I have any question that wouldn't be spoilery, but I'm just curious how you feel about the game state, I guess. I haven't watched very many games, right? So
I mean, I could go into like a small amount of detail on this, like from my own games, like the Night Fox and others will just say like I'm wrong on this, but I feel like Zerg is in a spot where against Protoss they're unbeatable. Against Terran, they have they're favored in all honesty, as long as they're played correctly. Protoss is in a bit of a rough spot currently, I think. Although I do feel like the way that I play PvT is actually favored for TOS. No one else is doing that, so I don't think that anybody else could actually mimic the macro style. And
right, because Zerg is that boomy, right, with all the larvae, and it's just like a few clicks away from making an army.
And Terran is it's an enigma, just because, like, look, I love the Cyclops. You nerfed the hell out of it. you ruined it. And now look at what we got. We got fucking Blackjack meta. What is this?
That's right.
It's a mono battle for Terran all the time. And I hope we see Ramen play against a Protoss, because he has a very fun mono battle style that it's absolutely busted. So we'll see.
Oh, you think he's developed that in between his match against Neblime?
Oh no, I think he stopped doing the dumb build that he was doing.
Oh, okay.
Actually played normally.
So you're hoping that comes back up later on. Hey, it could happen. Right now they will be proceeding through opposite sides of the lower bracket, assuming you knock Neblime out here. So that could very well be a matchup for, like, say, Elimination 3 or something like that. But hey, we'll see. That being said, I did see a little bit of a funny banter, because you said that you were going to send Neblime down to the lower bracket specifically so he could delete Shambler from existence, and so that is something that could happen next week, assuming the verdict goes the way of HitEmUp here. So with that being said,
I have another question. Actually.
Hit us.
Do you think if you win convincingly and in this series, do you think the final is also yours?
It depends on who I play against. I honestly feel that Neblime is probably, like, Neblime and EUD to me are the scariest players.
Okay.
Ramen, I know how he's gonna play, so I can kind of like cater things around that.
Sure.
EUD just plays kind of silly, to be honest, but it worked for him. And Neblime does so many different things that I like. He's not great at any one thing, but he's decent to good at everything. So it's hard to prepare for that.
Yeah.
It's like, I kind of feel like some of Neblime's work is, a fever dream Lundy idea, but toned down a little bit and then played better. You know what I mean? Played really, really well by comparison.
It was a good one.
That's almost like, because with the Acantor spam he was doing versus Top Ramen on Demaloon, like, that was some fire stuff. It really worked out very well in his favor. And, I think versus any other Protoss, not that there's that many at this stage anyway, obviously Neblime being the last one, I do think that Top Ramen's tier 1 spam could have worked out really nicely there. However, Neblime also was specifically, he does do this like weird thing where he just really heavily adapts between series. We're going to talk with him about that in his interview, obviously, but it's interesting to see that, and I feel like no matter who wins or loses in this series, we are going to see some very choice games in the lower bracket as a result, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what can be done, because, like, I don't know. At this point, I feel like the noose is starting to tighten around some of those players in those elimination games. It's starting to feel really difficult for any of them to make it past the names that are in the upper semifinals. In this case, you and Neblime. On the other side of the bracket, on Sunday, we'll be seeing Hamster and Aoud. Feels like whoever wins in either of those situations is going to be looking pretty good for an upper final run. But beyond that, you're talking about some of the other homies that are, like whoever loses in these two semifinal series, I can't see some of the people in those elimination games making it past them. So that's going to be we're going to be in for some very tight series down there, and I'm looking forward to it. But hey, I say we don't count our chickens before they hatch, and right now we got HitEmUp and Neblime cooking us up some. HitEmUp, any final words before we say goodbye for you and GG, GLHF, etc.?
Cannoli will beat Shambler tomorrow.
Oh, I could not believe if that happened. But you know what? My hype video for it does leave open the possibility. It is a possibility. We'll see.
I'm trying to will it into existence, okay?
Yeah, that's right. Okay. All right, man. And I certainly will be.
Fun.
Yeah, good luck. And I'm certainly looking forward to seeing what you got cooking up here. So let's pray to those dice gods. We see some Protoss Mirror today. And other than that, GG, GLHF. The voice of the lemon, Neblime. How are you, sir?
Good. What would a lemon sound like? I'm under. Well, I guess you didn't answer that.
You just answered that. How are you feeling ahead of your matchup against HitEmUp? There's been a lot of narrative talk, a lot of map pool talk, a lot of even a little bit of game state talk, and then of course the interview with HitEmUp. I don't know how much of all of that you listen to, but some scattering, some spattering, some ideas for you to some food for thought there for you to feast upon. And what a kind of feast is it looking like here? Are we going to be eating well in Australia?
Well, first thing I want to say is when you ask him, like, oh, is his HitEmUp game count high enough? And he's like, oh, I don't know. He's the one who keeps saying, as soon as I play him 100 games, I'm going to start rolling him every game. He's the one who brought that up. So don't let him weasel out of that. I didn't really ask him that hard, but we did not end up practicing before the match, as I sort of hoped we would. But that's all right.
Well, I do feel like over here the veto has gone an interesting way between him misbanning Demaloon and you random banning Check Stealer. Maybe things went well for you since he apparently wanted to play Demaloon against you. And I don't know, it's a map that you've obviously had success on. We still remember that banger from last week versus Top Ramen to open up your set. We're looking at Spinal Tap as the opening match. And we do think that HitEmUp will continue revealing his race upon loading in, since your name is not the Shambler. So what are we thinking about this? If he ends up getting Terran, are you rubbing your hands together?
Well, it doesn't really matter what race, but I want Zerg. But that's fine. I mean, I think I showed pretty well in the last series. I know what to do against Terran now. I mean, I was pretty confident against the one Fulcrum openers to expand, because that's the only thing I prepared for, not going to lie. Sure. But then Rama did other stuff. Well, I prepared for drops as well. But then, of course, EUD and Rama doing this one-base stuff, I had to adjust. But other than that, I'm pretty happy against Terran. But like I said, I really just wanted to roll Zerg, so...
Well, I do think that overall we're looking at a situation where Spinal Tap is going to be one of those maps that does favor getting out of your base, since, there's no ramp into the natural, no ramp into the main. It's going to be a bit hard to defend, and I think Protoss might be the best race to deal with that, especially if they go for like a Drac-heavy comp early. I'm sure you've got your own thoughts. Was it a map you expected to be playing, especially as the decider? It feels like maybe an out-of-pocket pick.
The decider? Which one? Muspelheim now?
No, Spinal Tap as the opener.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I knew I was going to be picking 4-player maps and he wasn't. I think we both just knew that.
Sure.
Look, it's a tough choice for me because I probably would have banned Spinal Tap, but like the three I would ban are like Muspelheim, Spinal Tap, and Genesis Y. So, well, and Check Stealer, obviously, right? That's the first ban, and then the second priority is those three. So I knew I was going to have to play 2 out of 3 of them.
Gotcha.
Honestly, maybe I would have banned Genesis Y first, but I'm like, whatever, this works.
Yeah. The dice roll in your favor. Decapitation and Paradise being your picks here. Obviously, Blackwater out of contention very early on, courtesy of that being HitEmUp's favored ban. Permaban, you could say, if we're going to be carrying over terms from Counter-Strike. Decapitation, for me, it's a map that served you well so far. You defeated Aoud 64 on it in Battlements. You defeated Top Ramen on it just a week ago. How are you feeling about it versus HitEmUp? This going to be your stronghold, your bastion?
Yeah, well, I wanted it ported to the game, and it's now my home map. I guess this is like Shambler's Boscovine. I guess let's see if I can keep it going on that.
I can't believe
I'm
you were
pretty happy
around
with
when we had
Boscovine is a
Boscovine as a
classic.
fucking map, dude. I'm sorry you had to go through all of that,
I keep bringing it up. I keep bringing it up too. The maps you used to make us play on.
man.
It's just cruel.
Well, we'll bring it back for the show match, maybe. We'll see.
When I played on Boscovine, it didn't even have a ramp. It was actually flat.
Oh yeah, that's right. We didn't have the cliff extender thing for the height.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, when you played, we also didn't have selection extender. So when you first started, all those
I
ways.
was used to that. That's
eons back.
fine for a Blue player.
True. Well, we're looking at Decapitation. We're looking at Paradise. You going to win one for Jack as well? You going to take Paradise, take us to a game 5? What are we thinking?
Yeah. I think so.
Avenge Jack, even though
Wait,
HitEmUp
who's
didn't even
who's
face
talking
it.
about game 5 though? What are you talking about?
Oh, it's going to be 3-1. Okay, gotcha.
No, 3-0, you know it.
Okay.
Well, unless he doesn't roll Zerg. He's got to keep up his end of the bargain. That's the only thing.
Interesting. I really want to see that matchup just because I feel like at this point it's fated. He thinks ZVP super heavy favor Z and that no Protoss could ever beat him. You think he's got a block on Z and that if he rolls Z, you're going to win. You both want it to happen. And of course, it would be just
We
this
should have
series.
just agreed to play. you know, I kind of hope they mention this casting, not playing, but you have a point about him calling, right? If he really wants to, he could sort of give up his honor for the win and call a different race, like, because there's no official thing forcing him to call this race, right?
No, he's only said that the only one he won't do it to is the Shambler, but they might not even face each other.
He does have like a weapon if he wants to use it.
That's true. Yeah, if he loses one map, he stops calling it. I don't know. That could be interesting. We'll see if you can unlock more difficulty levels. Yeah, even better. Even better. Yeah, I mean, Mystery Meat did the same thing, by the way. Mystery Meat on his random run for Ascension 6.
Wasn't it also versus Shambler?
And there was a point versus Shambler where he stopped calling his race. The first couple games he did, but then like after a certain period of time, he decided Shambler was an asshole, and so he stopped calling.
Right.
It was pretty funny. But anyway, all that being said, I'm just saying history could repeat. Neblime, you're going to have to send HitEmUp down to the lower bracket to face the Shambler if we want that storyline to come true. So a lot's riding on you here.
Yeah,
how do you feel about this responsibility?
He should just let me win because he wants to fight Shambler. Come on, he wants this.
That's right. He does want it, but he wants the winning more, and he wants to win flawlessly more. Actually, I didn't even ask him about that, and I should have, if he actually cares whether or not he wins without dropping a single map, because that is still a possibility. He has not dropped a map in any stage so far. No maps dropped in the Gauntlet. No maps dropped in Battlements. And now, so far, no maps dropped in Throneroom. So at least then you have a little bit of a mini quest, a first objective, mar his record, tarnish it by one map at least. But I know you, Neblime. I know you're going for the win. So what's it going to be? You actually you straight up predicting 3-0? What's going on here? What's the real deal?
I have a point that who knows what can happen, and I do want to remind you that it was the reverse sweep versus Mystery Meat when I wasn't really given any chance of beating him. Mm-hmm. So I guess anything can happen, but I'm definitely going to win.
Anything can happen, but Neblime's definitely going to win. Well, we asked you that same question, and I would say you weren't favored versus Top Ramen, but that practice between paid off, and you managed to 3-0. So
in the hype video, you called me the underdog versus Ramen.
I did say a slight underdog. I said slight.
You must regret that now, so don't write me off here.
Hey, I think it was correct and accurate analysis before the game, and then you showed why it wasn't. That's why. For all of the stuff that the public had to know, I mean, you're the one who didn't want to reveal any of your practice games or anything, so. Yeah, so can't get angry at us.
You watched Ramen preparing for the match, and you're like, "Oh, he's looking good." Is that what happened?
Yeah, I mean, he exited first place. He played versus Protoss a decent amount in prac, and then he was like, "Yeah, I know what to do," and downloaded all your games. You obviously played in the same matchup as him, but from the other side, whereas he didn't play any games versus Protoss publicly, so there was nothing for you to download. Besides the fact that you could adapt to what Aoud did, and even then, he brought a very different style. It just didn't end up working out. That whole Treasury Ministry hot swap was. It
was too similar to what Aoud did. Is the problem, and that's all I thought about preparing for, because I'm like, oh my god, how do I beat this?
Yeah. Well, it turns out a lot of Acantors. Maybe we'll see them in this series as well. Veek, do you have any closing questions for Neblime before we send him off?
Yeah, I guess the same question. How are you feeling about the game state so far?
Oh, I mean, I don't want to comment on balance. I'm not really qualified from that point, to be honest.
It's just like matchups. How are you feeling? And are they?
Oh, like about my play, I guess then.
I guess, yeah. If you want.
Also, how is it fun? Are you having fun, Neblime?
Oh, I'm having fun. I'm definitely having fun.
That's good.
As for my own matchups, like I don't know, it's hard because there's not really that many players. It's all just down to the player I'm practicing against, to be honest. I can't look at one matchup and look at it overall. I'm always just like, all right, what's my versus Ramen match? You know, for PP, what's my versus Arbuz match? What's my versus HitEmUp match? Let's find out. So it's hard to say.
As you say, it's just very subjective, and I know HitEmUp likes to comment that this matchup is favored towards this player, this race, and it's just plasted and whatever.
Well, look,
and you're just saying,
as soon as you start saying like, Zerg is stronger here or Protoss is stronger here, you're putting up a mental block to your own improvement and in fact to your own victory.
Right.
Because you're no longer looking for ways you're going to play better. You're just starting to find ways to complain and verify your opinion.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. A championship mentality, and it's proven by winning as Terran and as Zerg. Despite the fact that maybe they weren't always the most favored races to win, you managed to do it. You could do it here as Protoss, our last Protoss standing ever since the Gauntlet stage concluded. Sir, I wish you luck. Any closing thoughts before we send you off?
Believe it.
Believe it. All right. Good luck, my man. We'll be seeing you afterwards for an interview, assuming you can actually stay and do that. GG. Okay, so, Veek, I think we're about ready to ask our players if they are ready. We'll do a quick ready check if my keyboard will
You'll
function.
have to stream me.
And I will definitely be doing that as well. Both of our players responded instantaneously. Spinal Tap will be our locus to kick things off between HitEmUp and Neblime. It's random versus Terran, and we have got Christmas. It's going to be ho ho ho. It's going to be HitEmUp's Terran down here in the bottom left.
Immediately harvesting guys.
Yeah, he's going for that Fulcrum opener as per usual. We got Neblime up here with the Festive Nexus as well. So color-wise, I'm guessing this is going to be, this is a tight one. I'm going to say, is this Delft Blue or something? What is this? Cosmic
Blue?
Cobalt.
No.
And Neblime up here in the top right. This could be Pumpkin.
It's orange.
You say just orange? I'm going to say Pumpkin.
Yeah.
Oh, I was right. Pumpkin.
No,
Hell yeah, dude. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll remember to turn off my Christmas config after this, but this is what we got. No sense in pulling away. Now, history in the making. HitEmUp is going to be Terran. And so as a result of him being Terran with the Fulcrum start, I mean, he said it before.
Cyclops or Vultures?
I don't know. I don't know. So, I mean, he does open one Vulture, maybe two, usually. We're going to see what else he's going to be cooking up here, because obviously as...
APM.
He's warmed himself up. He did play against Arbuz. Arbuz, a top Protoss, hasn't been as active following his defeat by Gerald Storm in Gauntlet Stage A, all the way back in, I want to say it was like a month ago now. And so, anyway, Arbuz did play a little bit regardless and helped Neblime prepare. We do have a Lattice coming for Neblime, and so I don't know. I wonder what HitEmUp's going to be doing with all that. I think Neblime is coming in cold.
Maybe.
Well, he does like his sim. And versus Terran, he does like to go for that. I do kind of like this little placement of these Masons in the Fulcrums up against them.
Aren't useless? No
That's
way.
Right. Yeah. Neblime has played Simulacrum. Oh, he canceled that upon scouting double Fulcrum. He's going to go into the gateway. Yeah. And HitEmUp actually comes in to see that. So all players operating with pretty good information. He must have
scouted double Fulcrum and changed his plan after that.
Yeah, I mean, so what Neblime did in Battlements versus Shopkeeper Dog, who is notorious for going like one Folk Ministry, is he went for Gateway Lattice and tried to pressure with Idols, Sims, and like a couple of Zealots or something like that. I can't remember. Maybe it was Drakadons actually out of the Gateway. And so that looked to have been Neblime's plan. He's also going to keep his Scribe over here at 9 o'clock. He'll use that to sweep mines if he wants to push certain areas, but as we can see right now, HitEmUp is holding the ground. He's also going for a quarry. So this is another really exciting thing. HitEmUp has found the possibility of going quarry. As he goes quarry, he ends up going for a much longer game by and large. He usually ends up getting a very significant macro advantage around the 3 base mark, like as he's getting his third up. And so we're going to see if Neblime can basically deal with that. Because HitEmUp deciding to go for a more defensive stature, I feel like that's the opposite of what Neblime would be predicting.
Taluses just go to the main base and they saturate, right?
Yep, they're going to saturate the gas. That frees up more Masons because they have perfect 100% saturation with 2 Taluses, whereas 3 Masons are required for perfect saturation for gas normally. So this is going to be a 2-gate Ardent for Neblime. Okay. So if I had to give you the lay of the land, right, since I know you haven't been watching too studiously these days, I would say that what we're going to be seeing out of HitEmUp is this little... Oh, look at that. He actually sees the first Talus. Yeah. what we're going to see out of HitEmUp is a much more defensive posture. He's going to probably use the Scout Talos, but Neblime, he's trying to go for an attack. Your attack is going to be weakest versus somebody who's like defensively one-basing. Because while HitEmUp's setting up for a second base, oh, the Talos might actually get here in time to... No, not quite able to scout the Embassy or the Ardent. So he doesn't actually have vision on that, but...
This will be Architects, you think?
A Cantor drop for sure.
Yeah, okay. Oh, right, yeah, Embassy.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. No, Talos is actually immune to the counters then. It's neat.
Yeah. Well, the Talos doesn't have a weapon, so can't attack, but still, pretty good for scouting. You can see him harvesting from the ridge right now, having a little bit of Vultures to contest the Dracoden move out. You can see Neblime thinking about an expansion, but he is going to be behind the expansion tempo of his opponent. So this is pretty similar to what Neblime is probably used to, but look at the minefield, look at the blackjack starting to come out. We are going to end up seeing, I think, a pretty easy way to hold the Cantor drop. But we'll see what Neblime's doing, because he's got a very nicely mapped out build here where the Cantor finishes around the same time as the Envoy. He can just scoop it up almost immediately and start running. I thought maybe he would throw some Legionnaires in there too, but not going to be the case. Another Talos here to scout as well. Another Scribe sent over here to try to clear the mines. No vision on the drop, but when he gets here to see this, he should know, okay, drops are a possibility. Dropping yet another anchor. Blows up one of the mines. Causes some slight decollision silliness as well. Let's see. What is Neblime going to do here? All down to the timing. Okay, drops behind the mineral line. There's not really anything over here. I feel like Neblime's actually made a bit of a whiff there. He's going to end up losing that Envoy if he doesn't fall away fast enough. And look at that damage dealt to the Cantor. Meanwhile, you know, he's doing some good damage on the front line here. Still mines to deny a dive in. That Cantor's still at large. Okay, well, honestly, no economic damage dealt. I feel like HitEmUp is going to be very comfortable here. He's up on workers, added a second quarry, going to have plenty of worker production. Nexus not even halfway done right now.
Yeah. Second Talos is dying though.
Yes.
He's technically lost too.
Oh no.
Maybe he won't. Okay, so only one.
The witness revealing the mines so that it can be popped there. Not quite. Oh, look at that. BTFO'd by the worker. Yeah, scooped up. Well, the one watchdog over here, I mean, you don't really have that much vision up that area, so it can be a bit of a challenge. But, yeah, I don't know. As of right now, it feels like HitEmUp's going to be able to push this attack force back. It's not really going to be able to do too much right now. What's going to be the tech behind it? Just another Fulcrum so far.
Why are some of these units dark? I forget the name. Not Cyclops, the Blackjack, yeah.
Yeah, that's its damage. Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, once it reduces below 50% HP, it no longer has any health. Oh, no, Neblime! Oh, he lost his Cantor. Absolutely bodied. Might be thinking about taking a third base, but he's barely got any worker saturation in the natural. So Neblime playing from behind. Palladium coming for HitEmUp. Almost certainly going to be Phalanx to try to push this back. Remember, he does still have Taloses that he can use to send across. And once the Phalanxes come out, it will force the Dracodons to fall away and break the containment. Pretty sound game plan so far from HitEmUp. Well, he's actually going to try to muscle through here without the Phalanxes. The Matadors are going to add a lot of DPS to this army, and look at that. Pressing back forward here. Across the bridge. There's another Cantor.
That might be a mistake. He lost one Matador. About it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, he's going to go for a little bit of a pseudo flank here, but oh no, that was an Envoy there. I don't know if it had a Cantor in it, but that just goes down. That might be crippling here for Neblime's ability to push.
Matadors are way tankier now, right?
Yeah, for a while now, since like before Tyrant's Tail even started, I'm pretty sure. So
yeah, 140. That's pretty good. Well, they still melt against the counters. The counters are really good.
They are, but there's almost no way for the Cantor to do anything. Yeah, so like he ends up losing a lot of potential for another follow-up bust, and now Neblime does have to commit into that third base. Not really any hope for him to do much more than this. He's going to swing in with the Cantor. I think
he probably loses it. Maybe not.
Well, he's got to witness it a little bit deeper. He sees the Fulcrum explosion behind this, really powering up on the 2 base mark. We are going to see a Grand Library out of Neblime.
Well, as long as Neblime just takes bases at a good tempo, I think that's good because he got HitEmUp onto bases. He's scared to move down. So.
Yeah, I wonder for how long. 7 fulcrums, 2 of each add-on right now. We'll see how that one transpires.
Interesting.
It does feel like with a little bit of
his resources, right?
What was that?
HitEmUp oversets his resources. That's interesting.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, he's got 18 on the minerals for maximum sat with the Taloses on gas. So, in fact, he might.
Yeah.
I think he's actually missing 1 Talos on the Geyser, which is pretty inconsequential. But,
right.
That will be a little bit of a slap because obviously he's probably wondering why he has less gas than he normally does. Now the Acantor is doing a little bit of a parry here, denying the move out for free, but as the Phalanxes come out, they are going to have to be forced away. Santa hat on the Iquare Tor. All right, well, the slight little mech force is moving across. This could cause some problems if it gets deep into enemy territory. Phalanxes are going to get jumped on, but this is a mistake from HitEmUp, or from Neblime, rather. You can tell because those Drakodons were not supposed to be splattered so easily. Bringing back the rest of the forces. Vultures going down without laying their mines is a little bit of a mistake, but that Acantor is actually going to get sniped here. Oh, Neblime skirts it away with only 1 HP to speak of. Another one on the high ground. All right, what else can we end up seeing from here? Yeah, look at this. HitEmUp's just calling the bluff. I'm going to move across the map. You don't have enough stuff at home. I'm going to take care of you. I have my Phalanxes out as well. More units swimming out. The Witness spotting all of this, but look at the defenses over here. It's just the units coming out of the rally are going to be more than enough to hold this. You can tell Neblime knows he has to pull back. Oh, and he could actually get caught here. Thankfully, doesn't end up losing one of those envoys. Very, very wounded now. No defense is fully set up over here in the third base.
Will fall.
Oh, indeed it will. Only one of them left over. We'll see if it ever unloads. Right now it isn't. Okay, it does end up unloading. Well, that could be enough. I mean, he's holding. He's just lost a lot of workers as a result of all of this. Try to use the battle workers to buffer the attack from the rest of those mech units. And now, HitEmUp going to go ahead and reset his sort of mass up again. A little bit of a staggered push here. The phalanx count is starting to get a little bit scary. There are no Acantors in those envoys. He's massively like spamming the unload command, not realizing he didn't scoop that Acantor up to begin with. Now he's only got 2 Atriuses to defend.
You gotta remember that HitEmUp is also expanding at this moment. His ministry is almost done.
Yeah, he can float it over and lift it off. Now you can see Neblime is going to try to go ahead and drop the Acantor onto those phalanxes. I think it will end up dying, though. Not going to be good enough there to deal with that. No, he ends up saving it.
Maybe not.
Looks like there was a little bit of poor targeting or lack thereof for HitEmUp because he was dealing with the Atriuses. But look at this. It's just utter disarray for the mining. Adding more gateways back at home.
The advantage is getting pretty high.
Yeah, mostly due to that third base being taken care of worker-wise. Splash damage galore from the Cyclops being filtered in at this stage.
No.
Yeah, there goes all the workers. Pretty much every single worker dead. That Acantor has been a hero for Mr. Neblime, but I don't know that it's going to be enough. Now he can just sort of sit back and mass up. Where did that ministry end up going? Lifting off, heading towards the third base for the mineral only. So that's going to be harvesting plenty of presents as more scrapyards get added. So no need for tier 2. Has he ever fully saturated his geyser? Still a mistake from HitEmUp to not do that. But will it even cost him the game? Will he just make enough units? Will he push enough buttons? All right, Neblime comes in here. A couple of Cyclops going to push that envoy away. And again, you were talking about this earlier, Vic, but the Taloses are immune to the Acantor harass, so you can see him trying to do that, but he doesn't have to worry about that with the air workers. A bit of a sortie coming out here for Neblime as he tries to stab on in. He's going to confirm no base at 9 o'clock, and then maybe see if he can break the rally line there. I love the positioning of the Cyclops over here to stop the Acantor from abusing that back base. Could also put a couple of phalanxes down, but maybe some hopscotch would still be possible there for Neblime. As of right now, though, Crucible empowering lots of production. It's gateways, it's grand libraries. He's pumping out Atriuses to try to take an even fight, and now a ministry to make attacking into this with ground front line going to be very, very difficult for Neblime to do. A little bit of a wall.
I think Neblime is missing like a macro nexus or maybe artisans. It would really help him.
Yeah, look at this. I mean, he's going to try to charge forward courtesy of those Ecclesiasts going down, but there's plenty more mech units where that came from. This force will need to fall away. especially if one of those Ecclesiasts goes down, that could definitely help him out. But look, a flank comes in.
Oh,
That was a
my
force that was
God.
earmarked for the 3 o'clock, but Neblime, he ends up losing almost everything courtesy of that flank. Only one speedy Architect going to go ahead and vengeance itself to safety. Well, this is a really domineering force here for HitEmUp. He's actually moved everything out, abandoned the defenses at his mineral only because he knows he has tempo.
Yeah, he has doubled the army, essentially, and he has more workers.
That's right. That is right.
Neblime's third is probably gonna fall now. He's not even trying to take a fourth.
Yeah, I mean, that ministry never got resumed in terms of construction, so HitEmUp's not going to be able to take a... Oh, no.
Building could be really good with like Didax for stasis, right? But
Yeah.
it's gonna be too little, too late, I think.
Yeah, it feels that way. I mean, the Phalanxes are going to be able to take a very commanding position there. We can see Neblime trying to go forward that mineral only himself. This ministry does end up getting resumed at some point in the middle of that fight, and Neblime is maybe going to try to isolate any reinforcements coming across the map. But this ball of mech units is so powerful. You can see the deployment there comes out. That's going to break down that Warden. There's only the one Acantor. Needs to be scooped up immediately. Neblime does do that. Now trying to see if he can pressure. Obviously, the cliff advantage definitely... Oh, no, it's not even cliff advantage. It's just Architects helping him out there, using those extra units. Now the Phalanx is unsieging to deal with that. But look, I mean, the Nexus is popped. There's no economy here for Neblime now. Trying to do a bit of a fighting retreat here on multiple fronts, but he is going to start losing all of that. And look at that, no pylon, no Warden defense. Okay, well, what can Neblime do? He doesn't escape with the Acantor either. That was definitely the hero unit for him. Now, HitEmUp's macro style. I mean, he's got plenty more mech units, and some of these Phalanxes are still in the deployed mode. There they go, siege mode up. They splatter some of those Ecclesiasts and allow the pullback, but now cliff advantage given over to HitEmUp. It looks like the random player, the Tyrant, I think he might have just done enough damage here by killing that Nexus, shutting down that base. Sure, there was plenty of splattered Phalanxes here, but it's not going to be enough to stop this Protoss force from getting absolutely rocked.
I think we can call it GG. Like, just by looking at the workers, it's just like I don't see a way back for Neblime, unfortunately. It's pretty terrifying what the Terran army can do now.
That's right, yeah, and this is all tier 1 mech, right? Tier 1.5. Neblime not able to stop the macro from making the difference up versus the tech. I mean, the Grand Library units were very, very effective, but you got to respect those Phalanxes, and there wasn't really any response to them. Magisters come out. Admittedly, not that much anti-air is happening over here, and Neblime will concede. That is going to be it. GG, boys. HitEmUp's taking it.
The Cantors were not really that good of a thing. Like, I feel like he needed more Architects, and I feel like he needed definitely more economy. Like, he had HitEmUp contained on 2 bases for a little while, but he didn't really... I didn't feel like he spent it enough on his economy when he was in the... He had the tempo, so I think that costed him the game.
Yeah, I'd say that's not a bad call there, because when you think about the Acantors, what they allow for you to do is do a lot of harassment, very weak to HitEmUp's very defensive style, right? And then when you think about the way that the Acantors worked out afterwards, they really did allow for some nice holds on the third base. The problem is that at that point, Neblime was on the defensive side himself versus an opponent who had better macro, better worker counts, better economy and all that sort of thing. So we will be moving to a 4-spawn map now.
Very hard to contest Phalanxes with Acantors, I'd say. I feel like Architects do way better.
Well, Architects definitely do end up working out quite nicely versus the mech army, and they do force a different style. They force more tech usually, or maybe like a bio switch, which was going to be very, very difficult. We've got Inside Baseball Shambler trying to cast curses onto HitEmUp via DMs. I don't know what kind of witchcraft Shambler's getting into, but silly stuff.
I think another good thing that Neblime had is the Zargases, because both Didax and Magisters would be a great support. So.
Indeed, they would. All right, ladies and gentlemen, HitEmUp has rolled Zerg. He is the... This must be orange Zerg in the top left. All right. Neblime, the cyan Protoss in the top right. Oh, it's Arrow. Well, at least you knew that, but you didn't guess the right color, so...
You were too fast.
I'm so fast.
It's not the Necron color.
Yeah, I'm not Necron or from Necron's country, so I have a disadvantage on that.
Yeah.
That being said, shout out Necron one time. Okay, listen, we got Zerg, and this is what Neblime wanted this whole damn time. He wanted Zerg.
Yeah.
He wanted the ability to say, hey, PVZ, it's possible. He goes Gateway Opener still, so it's going to be pretty standard for him as the opener. Hit him up on the other hand.
Went like 3 lattice simulacrums. That would be so fun.
That's what Smarty Cakes did against Jack Yelansky and against Cannoli, but a few times at least, but didn't end up working out. That being said, okay, Veek, HitEmUp has gone for the straight into Larvosk, and it looks like it's going to be Larvosk into Pool. Normally what you see is Kagrant, Pool, Larvosk. Some rarer times you'll see Pool, Kagrant, Larvosk. It really depends on how aggressive you want to be. But HitEmUp going for Larvosk all the way, like fully upgrading it, and then taking units off gas and going straight into minerals.
Right?
Yeah, that does mean that he's going to be trying for yet another longer game. And I feel like that is very, very interesting. So with that being said, the Gateway comes out here. Second one for Neblime. He is going to go into a fast Legionnaire. That's probably the best way that he could punish. I mean, note his scout is already working through the bottom spawns, so the Legionnaire should move to the top left, especially once he sees this worker come in. So that should give him a little bit of tempo versus what HitEmUp is trying to do, because I think the Legionnaire will be like 3/4 of the way across the map before the pool even finishes. So that being said, Neblime is getting baited in by the Droleth. Looks like he wasn't on the ball when it comes to his micro, or just made that decision a little bit late. Second Legionnaire moving around. That might have bought just enough time for HitEmUp to get some units out. 2 pairs of Zeths on the way. And the Lattice.
Interesting. Legionnaires versus Zerg, I don't know how I feel about that.
I think if the Legionnaire would already be here attacking stuff, you know, and like as the Zeths maybe started, depending on how fast it ended up moving out. Now, definitely not going to be able to do too much here. He's going to scout 1 Larvosk, second one on the way. We love us, the Santa hats on the Larvosk. I did forget to reset my config. Don't worry, we'll just keep it the whole way through. Why not? It's continuity now. Merry Christmas, boys.
Merry Christmas.
Happy birthday, Necron. Let's see, a couple of Zeths still here. Only, oh, look at this. I love pocketing the Scribe. He's going to try to use that for a scout as soon as he sees the Zerg units move out.
Oh, interesting. He focused down 1.
Yeah, he's just trading them down. He doesn't know if HitEmUp's making combat units behind this. Now the quads come out. Just 2. Okay, so I have heard that from HitEmUp himself, he's gone for Hatch, extra Larvosk, Quaz pool. He's going to go up to 5 larva per 14 seconds with the evolved pool, right, going into the Vornath pond. I have heard HitEmUp say that he likes to stick on about 5 Larvosk on one base. I haven't heard him say anything about macro hatches, though. So this is already something a little bit different from what I've heard him say. Vassal comes out from the Lattice. It won't be able to get too much damage done. The Quads have stayed at home.
Scouting, right?
Yep. And let's see if it ends up provoking a response. Most Zerg players would just make a single Spraith here.
Interesting.
But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, one Zeth gets in there. That's going to be a little bit annoying for Neblime. Surely it doesn't get a kill, though. Yeah, okay, it's not going to get a kill. The Vassal also ends up escaping. And one Zeth really being annoying right now. Ends up getting gatted by the Ecclesiast. Now the Vassal moving back in. Okay, straight into Vorvs. He's pushing V. I don't know. I do wonder if HitEmUp's just setting up for a really crazy attack right now because of what he scouted. He sees that there's going to be some idle backline. I don't know if it's going to be enough. He's only going to have maybe like 3 of them, right? So this is looking pretty dire.
Pretty tanky, but they also reduce armor, which is huge for Quas.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, think about it, right? Because the Idol has 1 armor, but that's the 1 armor pen. Really, it's versus the Zealots. They are going to give them plenty of value versus Quas, or alongside the Quas, right? So this Scribe not actually being used yet, but he will hang out to see this Droleth, presumably. And, yeah, with the Zeth Vorv Quaz move out, there's quite a few of Zerg units moving across the map right now. Now, Neblime has been powering on production himself, and he's also adding Wardens in the back line.
Right?
Yeah, so I don't know that HitEmUp will actually be able to do too much here. He might just move, like, 1 Zeth up there or whatever just to see. Oh, hey, if that idol gets drawn down, that could have been bad, but Neblime 2 on top of it. He's going to see if he can, you know, push this Zerg force away. Really wants to allow himself to take this natural and then push on back. Oh, look at that, the pylon block. Cheek from Neblime.
Ah.
But, I mean, this looks like, HitEmUp was slowed, but not really, right? He doesn't even have the money to do that yet. He's just going to leave the Scribe there.
Well, he probably cured Quasis when he was denied, right?
Yep, could have been. One Vassal going to come in for another scout. All right. Well, you know, this could be a big mistake for Neblime to step too far forward. He's on that precipice of total disaster right now, and I'm not sure that he knows it. The Ecclesias in the backline going to help a lot. Some of those Zealots staying alive, but not as long as you'd think, courtesy of the Vorv armor end. Now he has to fall back. He's realized it. He's realized that the error of his ways being too far forward, and it looks like he will be able to hold. All the front line evaporating here. HitEmUp not going to be able to continue this pressure on for too much longer. The Ecclesias.
Not bad for Neblime, honestly.
Yeah, that's really good tempo for him. So
he's still not expanding though. Like, I don't know. Maybe he can. Probably he could.
I think he could now because he's made the Zerg, you know, reinvest into all those Vorvs, which is going to take some time considering HitEmUp just put down his hatch, right? Neblime does have double the worker count too, so that's worth pointing out. The Nexus now coming down. And if I'm Neblime, I'd love a little bit of a Sim City over here to see if he can't, you know, add some, you know, reduce the movement.
Even.
Yeah, sure. Got to remember and respect, you know, something that HitEmUp has said before is that versus Zerg, he likes to have a crucible-charged engram. And that's how he deals with Nathricors. That is always in the back pocket. Remember, 500 gas in the bank right now. HitEmUp could be banking towards tier 2, especially as his hatch is coming. Or he could go straight into something more formidable. Hydrith Den now on the way. And trying to hold this ramp, I mean, Neblime is potentially playing with fire. No Vorvs, crucially, it's just Zeths. The one Lannis doing a little bit of heckle. Oh boy. Let's see what happens here, because again, there's no Vorvs to armor rend, and the Zeths just melt to the idle count right now. Those Zealots staying quite alive for quite a while, but the cliff advantage helping out those quads a little bit. Looks like that Vassal ends up falling with only 1 kill to its name. Not too bad, but remember, HitEmUp is down in workers anyway, so every bit is kind of a salt in the wound, and a Stargate coming for our Protoss player, he might have a chance. The Naths have begun, ladies and gentlemen. 5 pairs. It's rising. Veek, hold me. There's Nathricors.
And there's a pre-nerd.
That's right. Okay, we're going to see HitEmUp open up the map a little bit. Kind of interesting he goes for that on his own side. He's doing this, and, you know, Neblime might love this position if he can manage to make it happen, right?
I didn't even know this map has this. That's an interesting way.
Yeah. It's because before I added these, it was really, really easy to contain people on their natural, because you could attack from 3 different prongs when they come out of their nat, right? So that forces you to maybe consider your movement here. But I really love that HitEmUp has done this, because I think it's going to catch Neblime off guard. Why would the Zerg be there? Why would they be all the way down in the south? And now the Nat's going to come in and get on top of those idols. Of course, they will end up sacrificing themselves, but that allows the melee to really close in.
Interesting.
Well, the Protoss can stay alive for a little bit longer. It's straight Gladius right now is coming out of that Stargate, so we're going to have to see. Second Stargate also has been started. I don't know, diving forward here, not looking too hot for either side immediately. HitEmUp has to push his forces into a better position, and it looks like he might be thinking about breaking those monuments down. Instead, he's going to charge forward. I really don't think he's going to be able to make much happen here. Look at this. Neblime maybe overestimating HitEmUp's Zerg forces, thinking that he can push through. He ends up pulling his workers away. HitEmUp trying to muscle through here. I really don't think he's got enough chaff. He would need double this units maybe, and then it's still kind of questionable. Yeah, writing on the wall, a total bloodbath. Neblime going to hold.
HitEmUp's looking like he's gonna win the battle, and then he's like losing it, and it's really
Santa hat.
what I would expect.
Yeah, I have to agree with that, though. I mean, that's usually the dynamic with these fights, is that the Protoss end up being in such a position to, I don't know, like they basically struggle with, you know, clearing out the hordes if there's a surround. But if it's a straight up fight, yeah, Zerg is not going to be able to be too successful. And now Neblime pushing forward. I don't know if this is going to be as effective. We do have 6 Hydras hatching. Admittedly, the Protoss has a little bit of a positional advantage. But this is where, I mean, you really are going to enjoy being able to move through that little mid-choke there if you're HitEmUp. That being said, he doesn't end up doing it, kind of pre-splitting his army, more Hydras hatching.
I don't know why he still doesn't have Pactals. They would help so much.
Yeah, they would. And look at that. The Nathricors are going to dive onto the Gladius, but that might be a big mistake there because the idols are just going to splash them all to smithereens. Second Gladius coming on in. Hydras, oh boy, I think the Zealots are going to be more than enough to deal with this force right now. There needs to be more of a front line as the Hydras are going to start to get bounced to death, it feels like. But hey, those Zealots are starting to evaporate. Ecclesia's not really able to help them out too much. Okay, one of them falls. That's going to speed the rest of the Protoss army away. And it looks like only one Hydra died in that whole fight.
This Hydras.
Yeah.
Pretty critical for him.
For hit.
Look at this, Neblime taking a third base before HitEmUp. That's not what we would have on our bingo cards. And now the Hydras can get engaged upon directly, but hey, the Vorv's Zeths are coming out. That's going to stop the Protoss army from retreating for free. Most of the melee is all dead. That first Zealot, the last Zealot rather, is going to go ahead and get sniped. This is where the runaway machine from the Gladius can definitely help out though. But no, they dive too far forward, courtesy of that Ecclesias, kind of working against Neblime there. One of the Gladius is getting sniped. Still a couple of idols up, but look at this. Starting to pivot into Iziracors for a little bit of a front line. Behind this, I mean, Hydras are so much better than Quas at busting buildings, at moving across the map in general due to their speed. It's really just a question of can HitEmUp do enough. He is getting his ski back scab now. That's to your point about talking about those ever important Bactylisks to actually siege positions and whittle down the Protoss force. If those were here right now, I agree, Veek. This would be a very different fight. But now we've got 4 Gladiuses out. Sure, the idols are starting to dwindle, but Zealots are going to start really wreaking havoc on the Hydra ball, and he's going to start falling.
Critical mass of those Gladiuses, so he has to be very careful because now he won't have any Hydras for those backfalls.
Yeah, no kidding. He might not have any Hydras for the defense. He has to pull them away from the balls. And okay, he might have done that, but no, that's it. No GG called. Neblime's on the board.
No GG.
The flawless run has been tarnished indeed.
Okay. So what, 2 wins for Neblime now?
That's his next objective. Can he actually make good on it? I don't know. That's going to be an interesting
He was right that he
situation.
would win against Zerg.
That's true. That's true. He even said, all right, if he rolls Zerg, he's doing all right. That's a possibility. We're going to go to Near Impact for game number 3. See if HitEmUp's random roll is going to grace Neblime with another Zerg matchup.
I need 1 minute, but don't guess the colors without me, okay?
Sure, you got it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Neblime is on the board. I wasn't sure it would happen. I wasn't sure it was going to go down. But you know what? Decapitation ends up being a good pick for Neblime after all. HitEmUp having a tough time moving his army across. And we are going on to game 3, a 2-spawn map here. It's not what Neblime necessarily wanted, but let's see what we got out of it all. Going on to another match. It's going to be Protoss versus Protoss. HitEmUp rolls Cosmic Cobalt in the top left, but that's my guess. I'll wait for Veek to tab on in here because he did say I shouldn't confirm until later. Neblime in the bottom right. Oh, I don't know what this color is. This is tomato, I think, but I'll see what Veek says. Man, I feel so weird starting a cast without actually confirming the colors until later in the game. That's so bizarre. I've never done that before in my whole life.
Hi.
Hi. I was just commenting that I know these colors. Do you know these colors? I didn't confirm. But I'm pretty sure.
Sapphire and pale red, I guess.
Pale red isn't a color. Try again.
Wait, vivid red.
Okay. So I think this is Cosmic Cobalt. And I'm right. Neblime is tomato. Hell yeah. The master at work.
Damn.
Yeah, I feel like this is most similar to Vermilion probably, but I looked at the color on the Nexus and I was like, yeah, that's tomato. And this one we saw on map 1 on Spinal Tap. That's what the color that HitEmUp got. So I was like, yeah, that's that.
Well, I was pretty sure it's not vivid red because it's a little bit different, but I don't know very many other colors that look similar. So.
Yeah, Vermilion, Scarlet, maybe one of those two could have been it, but Vivid Red, I guess it could have been it too, but yeah, no, not quite. All right. Well, I am very surprised that Neblime got on the board versus Zerg. And it's going to be 2-gate into Lattice for HitEmUp. He's got his own versus Protoss strat. This is the first time we're seeing PvP in quite a while. Neblime going for the Hierophant opening. Old Reliable.
He's 2-gating right now.
Yeah, 3rd gate. No, yeah. Okay. So it's we're going to see which one's better. Is it going to be 2-gate Lattice or is it going to be 3-gate? What are we going to see? Somebody's going to have series point by the end of this match. Man, I'm still in shock and awe. Okay, 2nd Lattice for HitEmUp. Dude, are we going to see like Draken and Sim or something silly? Like, is that what we're going to go for? We're about to find out what his first unit is going to be because his Lattice is nearing completion.
Simulacrum, that's what it is.
Dude, imagine. 3rd gate is indeed spotted here. Hierophant going to go ahead and use his attack speed buff to march aggressively towards the natural. And then, yeah, I don't know. Looks like HitEmUp just looking for that scribe, but not quite going to be able to find it. All right, first Ecclesiast is out. Manifold. Dude, what if he just spams Manifolds? What if? There will be no armor. You have no armor here. Couple Zealots coming out for both players. Just camping the ramp right now. Little does HitEmUp know Neblime's Scribe is pretty close by, with the natural being scouted a little bit here for any fast, expansion plays. Neblime instantaneously going for Stargate. What is going on? Is this going to be Auroras? I'm trying to think of what you could make this early. Maybe Panoptus? We haven't seen PvP in so long due to the low percentage of players actually being Protoss at the stage of the tourney, right? That, I really don't know what we're going to see, right? I really have no clue what we're about to witness here. So, let's see. Stargate coming out. I do remember an era where HitEmUp was going Panoptus, but unless they swapped labels here, not so sure. Third gate coming for HitEmUp. He's actually up in workers, Neblime. Up by 3 workers.
This feels a little bit too close to Starcraft 2, where you have just one base PvP.
Yeah. Couple vassals coming out here for HitEmUp. Well, Neblime did like a 2-base build where he would go for pylon gate matrix, sometimes triple matrix. So that's a little surprising that he's not doing that. But he likes units versus the man who makes units. He's up by so many workers already, but on this level of saturation, it's not really mattering too much. Vassal's just moving across, scouting what's up. When he sees the Stargate, we're going to see what he wants to do versus this. He's going to have plenty of reaction time here. Scribe gets absolutely bodied. Probably reveals indeed that some lattice units have been made. Obviously he knows that from the scout and also from the vassal. What does HitEmUp want to do when he comes in here? Ends up losing that first vassal for free. No workers dead. One of them pretty low, I guess. These two might actually be able to get a pick.
If I was HitEmUp and I scouted Stargate, I think I want to be immediately aggressive. Because Stargate needs a while to become threatening.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you just grab one Hierophant and tag the Gladius, your Drax can kill it super easily, right?
Yeah.
The one vassal, speaking of, actually going to get slowed and caught by that Hierophant.
Yeah, I feel like HitEmUp could just aim off here and win.
Let's see what he wants to do. He doesn't have that many Striders. He's got 3 of them coming right now. Now, does he want to expand from this position? He's kind of posturing as if he does, and Neblime is just going to go straight into it. Both players doing it, but HitEmUp's moving across the map.
Move, which is good. I think it's favored for him.
Well, you see the disparity in workers. It's dwarfed by the disparity in military in the top right there. That's almost 10 more military units. Now, some of those are going to be lattice units, so a little bit less chonky, a little bit more brittle.
He just has to be very confident, so Neblime doesn't get another Gladius.
Well, there's 2 of them up already. Third one on the way. Gonna take a while for those Gladiuses to do the same work versus Protoss that they did versus Zerg, and a Sim is actually gonna start to bounce a little bit here. Manifold's providing some armor pen. They're gonna help clear out those Zealots. You can see immediately there, Neblime trying to pull those Zealots away, see what he can do. Where is the focus fire for HitEmUp? What is he trying to focus down? It looks like he goes for an Ecclesiast. That's just gonna speed him forward. I don't know. Neblime seems to have been able to come up ahead in that little force there, courtesy of the Gladiuses.
Yeah, guys get a lot of bounces. I feel like it was too late already, fortunately.
Yeah.
He was just wondering, should I expand, should I not? And instead of immediately moving. And now Neblime just hits the critical mass, I'd say. Well, it might even be game ending.
We'll see. I mean, he's got lots of units back at home, but not very many that are good versus air, right? Still no Hierophant. Making a couple of Dracodins. He's going to see if he can focus down the Gladius. He's trying to dive on top of them. It's not going to be the best move there. You can tell, yeah, HitEmUp is already going to call GG, and Neblime now up 2-1 versus the Tyrant. It's out with the new, in with the old? That's not how that saying goes, but that might be what we're seeing here as we move on to Paradise for our next map.
So what do you think? You'll see most of the time today?
I hope so. That's what I want to see. I mean, that first game, HitEmUp said he would be confident after winning on Spinal Tap as Terran versus Protoss. That's exactly what happened. But Neblime's prophecy about fighting against Zerg, that is what ended up being true on Decapitation. And now, in the Protoss mirror, Neblime seems to simply have had a better move. I think you might be right. I mean, when you scout the Stargate, you either go straight in or you play a little bit of a more defensive game. And I think if he went straight in, he needed a Hierophant, and he needed to hope that Neblime moved out, because then he could like catch his units and such, right? It's not exactly the best move there, and you know, that was set up for a military victory for HitEmUp if he had managed to make it happen, but kind of got choked up there. So we'll see what he wants to do going forward.
My hands aren't working.
We'll see what he wants to do with that. We'll see, because Neblime now threatening the series point. I mean, listen, HitEmUp is going to be going on to face the Shambler if Shambler wins tomorrow, you know, the winner of Shambler versus Cannoli. And the Cops are after me for even suggesting HitEmUp in the lower bracket. So all I can tell you guys is that I think we're going to see HitEmUp knock Neblime on his ass and send him packing in the next 2 games. That's my prediction. But hey, anything could happen. Anything could happen. I still believe. All right, we're going into Paradise. HitEmUp proclaiming that he is ready to lose. Let's see if that's true. I feel like he's ready to absolutely face roll. It's going to be, once again, a Protoss versus Zerg. Happy birthday, Necron, as Neblime is Cyan.
Oh. You were right.
HitEmUp in the top, in the bottom right here. This is probably either Vermilion or Vivid Red.
And Vermilion, I think.
Okay, you're going to say, I'm going to trust you, Veek. All right, I was right to trust you.
Yeah.
You're right. Listen, Vivid Red looks exactly the same. The only giveaway is the name color, I feel like, the text color on the name.
I feel like Vivid Red is a little bit brighter. It doesn't have those dark tones, but I might be wrong.
I think it's more saturated, maybe? Yeah, something like that. Either way, Neblime going for the gateway. I feel like Cyan does look pretty good on Protoss, honestly. It's pretty legit.
Yeah.
All right, Neblime going straight for Hydrith opener. Okay. So this might be Iziracor's.
He's also scouting. So he wants a timing attack, I think, right?
Yeah. Well, okay. A lot is... okay. Neblime will scout his opponent first. Now, this is kind of a double-edged sword for HitEmUp, because he knows, based on that and the scout timing, that his opponent is bottom left. But, as a result of this scout, Neblime's going to know something fishy is afoot. I don't know if he's expecting it to be Iziracor's, but what else could it be when there's no gas being harvested, right?
Yeah, and he's also hoarding larva.
Well, I guess that...
This is a desperate attempt.
It might be. Is desperation
he's also
striking?
PMing very hard.
Yeah, he's in the zone. He's in the zone, and now the scribe has arrived. Hydrith Den nearly complete. Does he commit to it? Okay, Iziracor is coming, yep. So I think at this point...
immediately.
Yes, defensive warden, second gate, like... You know, honestly, in some... HitEmUp can transition out of this. It really depends on what his follow-up is. He usually likes to fourth Iziracor.
Deceptively a lot of range, especially with the bounces.
Yeah.
They have free range and also the bounces. So they could roam around the minerals and snipe some workers.
Yeah, they move pretty fast as well. Faster than a Zealot.
And I think they're pretty good versus Zealots.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, if you get enough of them. He's actually going up to 5 Iziracor, so this is very committed. You can see the workers standing there. Is going to get the hatch down before a cheeky pylon can be placed by Neblime. That was tight timing.
Good.
Yeah. Because remember, HitEmUp does want to transition out of this. He's starting to make a worker now. So it's going to be 5 Iziracors, but 3 of them are going to get there at once. Draconins come out. I think that is going to push HitEmUp's forces back, or force these Iziracors to just walk past the Zealot and go straight into the mineral line. He's going to also scout the Warden, right? He's going to see if he can maybe get some damage out. Look, I mean...
Fighting 2 units is better than fighting 1 because of the bounces, right?
I don't know. For a second there, I was starting to believe in it, but it doesn't end up happening. So he's just going to fall back. I mean, the units are going to prevent any, like, attack from Neblime from finding too much fruition, especially if he camps this ramp here. And it looks like that's exactly what he will do. One of those Iziracors very, very low.
He should borrow the wounded one.
Yeah. I agree.
For the region bonus.
We'll see if he does that back at home. I mean, he could even just set up a trap with most of them burrowed and then like only a few standing off to the side. But instead he's going to camp his ramp. Neblime moving forward with the Draconins. I mean, this is not a good force here for that particular reason, but it's going to be enough for HitEmUp to be feeling a little bit worried. He is starting to make Hydras. Zealot maybe getting a little bit too antsy there. The one Hydra going to help out quite a bit versus the Drax. Is that going to be the focus fire for Neblime?
You have to commit, and he was afraid to do so, and now he's losing them.
Well, a couple more Hydras being made right now. Oh, second one comes up to the rally. It's going to get focused down, but the Zealot is dead. The Zealot has fallen, so if we can get up to a good Hydra count here, we are going to see HitEmUp be able to push this back. Not great control out of Neblime, but he's still able to get rid of the Izira cores.
It's quite spicy, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe some battle workers need to get involved. HitEmUp not known for that strategy. I know Neblime would have already had them up and running here, but I think this might be the death knell. Remember, drag even count, you can get that micro going, and there's not much that the Zerg can do. He focuses down the wounded one at the very least, but that's just a little bit of extra. 7 workers left, and more Drakadins moving on in.
Yeah.
Oh, he's trying to cut him off with the workers, but I feel like it's much too late to go for a move like that. He's got 2 Hydras fighting the Drax up there, pushing this one back down, but GG is called. Neblime has done it 3-1, defeating HitEmUp and moving on.
You believed.
He believed it.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I honestly, I am surprised he avenged Jack Yelansky, the spirit of Jack Yelansky, on that map. Even though Jack is Zerg, so I don't know if that really counts. But Neblime will be our victor. I definitely wasn't predicting that one. V.
I did not expect that one win from hit and followed by a reverse sweep.
Right, yeah. And so not quite all the way there, because of course it would have had to be the first 2 wins for hit, but
I feel like this was the mistake in the last one, is that HitEmUp was desperate to just end the series.
Could have been.
Instead of just playing his regular macro, which he's really good at.
Yeah.
And I guess
a
it's
lot of
also
it could have been down to prep, right? So it's hard to say, but go ahead.
In the first Zerg game, it's very uncharacteristic of HitEmUp to not go back to this. Just like he used navs in combat, which was like, I don't know. That was very random. He already had Vorps to reduce armor, so.
Yeah, the Nats, sure. I think, were mostly just like, I have this gas. But I think that there's a few things. I feel like that last game, we can't necessarily draw too many narratives from or like grand scale things from. But I'm looking at the way that the games 2 and 3 went, the first 2 wins that Neblime scored, right? The Protoss game on Near Impact and the Zerg game on Decapitation for HitEmUp kind of have a similar narrative in my mind, where we're talking about a player who does indeed, as you say, excel in macro. What was his win in this series? It was macro Terran versus a more aggressive Protoss opening from Neblime. The macro, not really necessarily his bread and butter in those games that he ends up dropping leading up to this final game on Paradise. And with HitEmUp going for this more aggressive style himself, I don't know. Yeah, I do wonder. I mean, he might not be in much of a mood to give an interview at this point. We'll see. We'll check in with him if he wants to. But looking at the way that the overall tenor of those games went, it was like 2 key decisions that feel like maybe unforced errors. And again, we'd have to actually ask him what he thinks of this. But not going Bactylisks in game 1 when he had all that Vespene, and instead going for the Nather cores versus someone who's been scouted. You scouted, he goes Lattice. Like usually in that game, every day of the week, you go for Bacts. Or you maybe try to turtle up for tier 2. That's something that hasn't been mapped out as much. And then in game 3 on Near Impact, we see him scout the Stargate, but he moves out maybe too slow. Probably an unfamiliar game state compared to the ZVP, but still a decision that might be a little bit puzzling. Now, that being said, up till that point, he was down in workers. He had cut a lot of workers to afford all that military. So he might have just been thinking, well, I'm going to win in the military zone. But you mentioned to yourself, Vic, that maybe it was a little too slow on the move out to make that happen, because the 3rd Gladius arrived in the middle of that fight, and it just went from bad to worse, right? So not very ideal in that situation. And yeah, maybe on Paradise he was just looking to end it up there. But despite that, falling to the lower bracket, HitEmUp will face the winner of the Shambler versus Cannoli. And even though I'm sure it stings to lose, one thing is for certain, he's going to look forward to beating the Shambler.
Honestly, respect for Neblime for not like melting away after the first loss. Like that looked pretty bad for him. Like a lot of people, I feel, would get tilted after that game. So, like, really respect for not being affected emotionally after the loss.
Well, I say Neblime is like almost interminable in that way, where you can dumpster him in 2 matches. You can ask Arbuz about this in Tyrant's Tale. Right. I want to say it was it might have been Elimination 3 actually. Arbuz ends up dealing with Mystery Meat 3-2. Then he goes up against Neblime in the Elimination 3, the game before the lower final. wins the first 2 games, and it's just crushing victories for Arbuz. Like, it's not even close. The military is so much in favor of Arbuz. And then Neblime just macros it out and it makes some adaptations and goes straight into a reverse sweep to make it into the lower final. Now, Top Ramen deals with him 3-1 there at that point, but you can't ever count him out. I even said it in the hype segment against Top Ramen last week. You can't count Neblime out until the series is actually over. So, yeah, I mean, HitEmUp talking about bringing that confidence from the Spinal Tap victory into the rest of the series. We did hit on that in the first game, but in the pregame interview, it didn't end up being enough to stop Neblime from getting some very, very nice moves there. So that will dismiss our Tyrant into the lower bracket, and the reigning champ of Acropolis 1, he moves on a little bit further forward in Acropolis 2, which, you know what? That's pretty epic. We'll see who's who and who wants. I guess we can start with the victor there if you're keen to do some interviews right now.
Okay.
All right, Neblime. The lion himself. You ended up taking it after all. Believe it. I wasn't believing it, but I started to believe.
Believe it.
I started to believe.
Neblime. You were laughing.
3-1.
No. Throneroom, we got to call you out. You were laughing when I'm like, I'm going to win no matter what the score. What is wrong with you?
Oh, no. When you said believe it, I thought of Naruto, so that's why I was laughing.
Oh, yeah, sure, whatever. I don't really watch anime, so I don't know.
I don't either, but everybody knows Naruto, dude. The Naruto run that gets you shot at Area 51, like all those memes.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, believe it is like the catchphrase there. Maybe it's Yu-Gi-Oh,
Nice.
honestly. I don't fucking remember. But either way, I was pretty sure it was some anime like that.
Yu-Gi-Oh is like the heart of the cards, right? It was in the heart of the units.
Yes, that's right. It was in the heart of the units. Listen, I actually don't even necessarily want to pick your brains too much about the first game or the last game. There's going to be some questions about the first game, I'm sure, just because it was the starting point here. But let me just ask you a question, right? That Protoss versus Zerg game, you just see so many dead units out your doorstep time and time again. You get up to your Gladius count. Like, what were you expecting, and was that what you were expecting? Were you expecting HitEmUp to do that? Because that felt very uncharacteristic, looking at it from the perspective of the spectator. Like, I was not expecting those kinds of moves from him, and yet here he was, gunning for it with mostly pool units.
Well, here's the thing. Zerg, I feel like outside of weird technical attacks, there's 2 main paths in the early game. They can get the low ground quickly, and they can get like Kizilisk and stuff, and just sort of turtle and macro up, or they can go this big quaz play and then transition into Hydra Banks. Or you can stick it Lickers later, but I think it's not very good. Mm-hmm. And of course, we went for the former path, and I practiced this a lot, knowing okay, I have to get a lattice as my third building. That is not optional because of that, of course. That's just mandatory. And then I just have to play around if he expands or not, right? And I had that scout sitting there, and I could just see whether he expanded or not. So I knew he was messing up, and I sent that scout, and I saw the massive amount of production structures, no Hydra for Zorkis. So I had a pretty good idea what he was doing. And yeah, the traits weren't very good for me at first, but you know that Zerg hasn't really got that much of an eco advantage here. And the thing is, the Gladius do just negate cause units eventually, and they actually do the same with Hydras when there's enough of them. So if Zerg doesn't tech into something else, you are just going to win eventually. So you just got to kind of stay calm and keep trading. Because every time Zerg's making military units, they're not making draw lefts, right? And I didn't scout every base on the map, but I couldn't find a third base. Did he have one?
No.
Yeah, see, that's the big mistake. I think it would be better off to sit back and just macro up, and as soon as I try and move out, you try and surround or backstab or whatever, but you don't want to try and attack in. I just don't think that's the play.
Okay. Yeah, there was definitely a period of time where, and he even said as much in between lobbies, where he was talking about that map having some rough goes of it when it came to the army movement. And it did look like some of his quasi-heavy army were struggling to move through, right? And that is the problem with the... That's the problem.
Kill that temple. That's the best unit you got. I was not a temple as a monument. You got Zephyr, of course. They can get the job done.
Well, he clears them out. It wasn't the movement there. I was thinking of the movement into your choke in the natural. But that's just just moving into chokes, Not really much you can do about that. So.
Well, I gotta give credit to HitEmUp, right? He's a very formidable opponent. At the point where you're preparing for the match, you're like, good lord, what can I even do? So I don't want to say too much about nerves or whatever, but this does go to what I was saying before the match.
Talking about the Zerg block?
Well, not Zerg specifically in this case, but if you start thinking about things other than your play, you're just putting a wall up for yourself, And yeah, the map's going to make it hard for you. You're playing Brood War, for God's sake. It's not going to be easy,
Okay.
Here's another way to look at it. If you want to win a championship, you can't take the attitude that you can have any mistakes at all. So you can't just be like, if the map was slightly better, I'd win. You got to say, God damn it, I've got to play better,
Right, whatever that means, playing within the means of the map, so to speak, or the meta, as it were, in this particular case. Well, you managed to make
Well, it
people...
feels pretty bad he banned his own pick.
Yeah. I mean, I was trying to remind him that, like, you can just say, hey, we can redo it. Yeah.
But to be fair, we didn't get to play all the maps, so I don't think it played into it that much.
Right. No, yeah,
for sure.
You know what? I'm looking over at it, and I'm seeing the complexion of this series, and I do think back to that Protoss versus Protoss game. I don't know how much of that you really internalized, but you go for the fast Stargate as on a one base kind of situation. Your expansion is pretty much at the same time as him. You obviously scout that with your worker and your pylon there. The cheeky pylons, by the way, showing up in 2 out of 4 games here. Interesting stuff, and you know what? You even avenged Jack Yelansky's spirit on Paradise, classic move there. But
I did.
How are you feeling about that PvP match? Because I feel like this is the matchup that you should be liking the least on paper, but it ended up being perhaps more comfortable than the versus Zerg.
I gotta call you out, I gotta call Hit out here, who's saying second best Protoss, right? I don't see why I would anticipate losing in PvP. I did want PvZ more, to be fair, but I felt pretty confident about PvP because I've just been playing Protoss for a while and doing only Protoss, whereas Hit's had to split his attention, right? And yeah, I heard he practiced versus Ardwoods, but so did I, and honestly, I feel like I've had a lot more PvP games over time. And to be honest, when I saw the lattice, I was very confident because it's a weird sort of triangle you have here in PvP. It is tricky, where the manifolds are really strong if your opponent's going like heavy Zealot Ecclesiast to try to attack you. But the Zealot Ecclesiast are really good against Drakodins as long as they can catch them. And like Drakodins crush any lattice units, obviously. So it's sort of tricky to make the right thing. But in the past against Hit, and in fact in general, I would say in PvP, I've suffered because I try and be either too greedy or I try and attack. So I'm trying to just sort of play very middle of the road, very conservative. And the 3 gate and then tech and then expand is like super, super passive. Honestly, if my opponent expands right away, it's not going to be a great position for me, but I do have the Gladius count, so I can sort of keep playing. So it's a very sort of all-round build. And like I said, when I saw the lattice, I felt pretty good because that's quite a like specific sort of way to play.
Sure, yeah. I can see what you mean when it comes to that. Overall, you end up taking the series 3-1. I will come back to that first game. That was HitEmUp's glory moment of the series. He did say as well, and one of the reasons why I was starting to feel like, oh yeah, it's happening again. The HitEmUp steamroll is coming, because he said, if I win in an unfavored matchup on an unfavored map, I roll Terran and I win, I'm just going to be super confident going into the rest of the series. Were you starting to sweat, or did you just decide to be your usual steeled self and decide, I'm just going to win every game from now on? How was that? Because that did look like, just his more defensive play parried your Acantors really well. And give us some thoughts on that, and also your mentality coming away from that loss and going into the rest of the series.
Well, there is a bit of a story here because, Hit has been like half coaching me, half practicing versus me because he does have a lot of things to tell me about how to improve. And at some point he was like, "Oh, you should try Cantors here. Cantors are the best." And I made a Cantors one game, and then he immediately just said like, "Oh, Cantors take a lot of management. Maybe you should do something else." So he called me out for my bad Reaver drop micro, and he's absolutely right. It didn't serve me very well in that game, and my attack failed really badly. I did not expect 2 anchors. I was honestly shocked because I just A-moved the Draxian as I was microing the Acantor.
Oh, right.
It's pretty bad play from me, of course. I was not expecting the double anchor. And I actually had sort of another plan, you saw with the lattice, that I didn't get to do because it was sort of based on my opponent being defensive. I didn't realize he was going to go 2 fulcrum and defensive, so he definitely sort of read into what I was going to do. But look, I will say overall, it's a very tough map for Protoss vs Terran, I think. But I was surprised he didn't go for any shamans. I sort of thought to myself, is he going easy? Because I feel like Terran not making shamans just makes my life so much easier. And even with a really bad start, I feel like we played it out reasonably well. Mm-hmm. And you can sort of see my idea. If I get a bunch of Magisters up, it becomes really difficult for him because so much is in phalanxes and you can sort of start picking them off. Of course, he's strong enough that once he gets ahead, he's sort of just going to strong arm you, of course.
Well, flashbacks to that one game on Potadeo versus Top Ramen, where he goes this heavy mech ball of Phalanx Vulture or something, and then you just surprise, I've got Exemplars. So the air push versus mech can be very, very deadly for sure. So yeah, going into that series, going into this one, now you're clear of the Tyrant. Your run to the grand final through the upper bracket seems, I wouldn't say guaranteed, but certainly a lot more likely. I mean, maybe I said so in the hype video that opened us up here, but HitEmUp is seen as the final boss. Throwing him to the lower bracket is definitely going to make some people's lives very, very sad when they consider the fact that they've got to get through again, the final boss in many people's eyes. You might be, once again, ascending to claim that same label, claim the throne. That being said, your next opponent will be either Hamster or Aeud64. Predictions for that series, who would you prefer to play versus who do you think you will if they are different?
Well, HitEmUp did point something out in his pre-game interview, and this is something I've said a lot, by the way, about Hamster, is that he plays kind of silly, and I agree with that. And I've said before, Hamster isn't really playing to win. He's sort of just playing to do cool stuff, and he contributes a lot to the game in that way.
Yes.
And he's not bad by any means. He's a very good player, but he's not playing to win. But to be honest, I feel like EUD is kind of the same. He's sort of not playing to win sometimes and doing like weird stuff that's just like, oh, cool, I guess you can do that. Whereas, if you can come in with like 3-6 balls and win, you should probably do that. That's what I feel like you should do. And like EUD is not the kind of guy, but Hamster's not the kind of guy either. I got to give it to EUD in general because this will affect them both, and I think EUD's a little bit stronger on the whole. So it'll be an interesting series anyway. Both players will definitely bring interesting stuff.
Okay. I like that answer because I think that should be a series that's similarly contested as this one. It probably ends with a similar scoreline, 3-1. Maybe it could be a hotly contested 3-0. I'm struggling to see Hamster make it past Aeud overall when it comes to the just macro mechanics. And I do think that despite his playstyle being a bit more, what would you say, identifiable, unique, perhaps quirky.
The good thing now is I don't have to freaking prepare against random. That's a real pain in the ass.
Well, until the grand final, then maybe.
That's right.
Yeah, the run back where HitEmUp comes back to just rip your head off. That being said, we're talking about Hamster now, Aeud. We're talking about. I'm predicting that'll be Aeud versus you, some more PvT, a rematch from your group as well. Perhaps that turns out to be the group of death in some ways. If we cast our eyes to the lower bracket, we can also do a little bit of pick your brains real quick on the lower bracket as well. We're talking Art of Turtle Top Ramen. That's going to be taking place on Sunday. I do. And the Shambler Cannoli taking place tomorrow. So that's going to be interesting because I do think that Shambler should... I think he like 99 out of 100 times Shambler wins. And also I would say like maybe 70 out of 100 times Shambler wins 3-0. That's sort of like the degree of confidence that I have. That being said, Cannoli has been practicing a lot more lately. So, maybe he can redeem himself for his showing against Aeud. However, I feel like usurping the Shambler at this stage is kind of out of the cards for him. And, that means that we'll probably end up seeing the, not the money match, but the salt match. HitEmUp against the Shambler.
This is what HitEmUp wanted, man. I'm just
No, he said he wanted to send you to face against the Shambler. You didn't do it.
He's got to take out the trash. That's up to him. I'm going to leave him the dirty job. Go down and face Shambler with the cheese or whatever. Like, I'm going to stay up here, stay clean.
I see. Well, you know what? I prefer you win because every time you win, you donate more money. So.
Oh yeah, right. We have to do that.
Well, it's not actually contractually obligated, but maybe it should be. That being said, Art of Turtle versus Top Ramen. Do you call that? Can you call that? Do you feel confident?
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a closer one, I think. I will quickly say about Cannoli. Like, he's had an impressive run coming in his first time. And there's my microphone. Sorry.
Got him.
1 second.
Absolutely slapped as per usual. Overall, oh yeah, there you are.
All right, cool. Sorry about that. It kind of had a fall. What was I saying about Cannoli? Right, he's had a great run coming in his first time, right, and qualifying to Throneroom. So give him props for that. But I definitely think you're right that he doesn't have the underlying. I'm just going to say like macro to sort of win games. Whereas Shambler's macro definitely can be outclassed in these Thronerooms, but he definitely will outclass Cannoli. I think if it was Zerg versus Zerg, since it's a lot more like aggressive and sort of tactical, I'd give Cannoli more of a chance. But since Shambler's playing Terran right now, I think he can pretty easily just sort of macro up and have a better army, which is his sort of what he's trying to do by his own statements, right?
Yep.
But
assembling
anyway,
Exodia.
Exactly. To Art of Turtle and Top Ramen, that's going to be a lot closer. That's going to be pretty spicy. I think Top Ramen has the edge, but Art of Turtle's a pretty dangerous player, man. He can definitely kill you off if you're not prepared. So I don't want to call it definitively, but that's not to say it has to be a 3-2. I guess it depends what Ramen's going to bring, and I'm not sure how prepared he is or not. Because AOT, I feel like, is in pretty good form. Ramen, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I do think that Ramen has played a lot of TVZ in the lead up to this. That was, of course, the matchup he played in his battlements. And he did play against I think it was Gerald. No, he didn't play against Gerald Storm in Gauntlet Stage A. He might not have played against a Zerg. Maybe Biddy rolled it a few times or something. But pretty sure that Ramen played against Zerg for the first time in Acropolis 2 in his Battlement stage. But that being said, he did have a pretty strong showing, only dropped one map to Hamster, who obviously went on to defeat the Shambler 3-0, so not a poor player by any means. Certainly a fair situation there. I feel like Ramen should be the favorite, but we'll see. I mean, AOT obviously... you can't ever count him out either. He's like, in many ways, he has that same characteristic as you do, where you can be like Cannoli and get up 2-1 in him in a best of 5, and then Art Turtle will still come up back with a, put on his belt, so to speak, and get to work kind of thing. So feels like AOT definitely has the grit to stay in. Obviously that's just something you develop from playing a lot of Brood War, I'm guessing. That being said, yeah, I'm looking forward to some of these matches, and I was definitely looking forward to this one. I'd say it delivered in the spectacle. It's not how we thought it would go, but isn't that better sometimes? Isn't that just the nice way to surprise people, to make people believe?
I do always want to root for the underdog, right? So maybe you're doing me a favor by saying, oh, he's slightly not favored, or, hit saying the second best Protoss. How are we going to do that in finals, man? I guess if it's EUD, you can say, oh, EUD took him down before. I do kind of want the rematch, not gonna lie.
Versus Hit or versus EUD?
Versus EUD.
Okay.
Show everyone I can take him down after the terrible group showing.
See, that could be a possibility, getting that adaptation, that series play. What if our groups was best of 7, And so then it would be a thing. Looking at this, though, I just plugged in the settings to Liquipedia. We were talking about you in the upper final. It says the Protoss thing, the Australian flag, looking official as fuck. I hope you guys are happy about the Liquipedia pages if you've been paying attention to them. But you managed to take HitEmUp down, and that's no small feat. So you can rest easy for the rest of the day. Whatever else you had planned, you can just be like, whatever, I'm too important for this. I just won.
I got to go do stuff, honestly. As you know, it was sort of a contentious time for me. Luckily, it was fairly quick. I always think these matches take longer than they do, but they tend to go pretty fast.
They usually do. I mean, it's pretty rare we have like a 20-plus minute match, at least these days. Like, no infinite velocity, too. So you're good. You're in the clear for the Tier 3 games. Guaranteed, so to speak. But, hey, that first match was pretty cool back and forth, like you said, and... obviously, all the rest you must be remembering even more fondly, considering those are the ones that you won. GG's, my man. Veek, any final questions for our lemon here?
Infinite velocity, that was a map.
Yeah, stop reminding me. I've been reminding Pronogo, now he's reminding me.
Yes.
And I'm just like,
You're welcome.
Yeah. So, what about the rematch someday?
Oh, yeah, that's right. When Veek beats you on infinite velocity. Yeah,
that'd be a hype match. Holy shit.
That would be. If you had bombed out, it would have just been that could have been the show match. But you had to go and beat HitEmUp, so we can't have that. Can't have nice things.
Was it versus Veek? Veek, was it against you that I was like, I got to tier 3 in infinite velocity and I started trying to make diadems near your base? Was that you?
Yeah.
Oh, God, that was a game.
Yeah,
it was very long. Yeah. But I ended up getting in, and then I was just annihilated by Ackman drops.
I do remember that. Don't worry. No one else does, like I keep pointing out. So please remind them. But yeah.
Yeah, I know. I did enjoy your reaction when I pinged you about the manifolds attacking the uptech.
I'm so mad. Everyone's just always like, "Oh, what about this?" I'm like, "I literally won matches with that."
Yeah.
Like, come on.
And people doubt it. But you know what? You made him believe. That's what I say, Neblime. All right, man.
That's right.
GG's, congrats. It looks like HitEmUp is sticking around for the interview, so we'll bring him in and pick his brains. But that's 3. And look at that. Your money is your check cleared. I'll go ahead and say bye, second best Protoss. Your money's cleared, sir. I'll go ahead and rig the next set of matches for you. GG's, my man. I'll see you later.
Yeah, please make sure. All right.
You got it. All right. Let's bring him in here. The voice of HitEmUp, now once again gracing our ears. How are you feeling after that series, man? Definitely a tough way to close things out, it looked like.
Yeah, I'm shaking pretty bad.
It was. I do want to ask you a little bit. You did mention after decapitation that the pathfinding was bugging out for you, but even looking past that, your game plan versus Neblime as Protoss, I mean, that was the matchup. That was the storied one, really. That's what everybody said that they both wanted on both sides. How were you feeling going into that, and did it just not end up going the way that you wanted it to when it came to the army movements, or was that the only real thing that you could point to, or was there something else that kind of fell apart before then?
Honest to God, like, By the end of the first game, I was shaking pretty bad.
Oh,
And
wow.
then
Okay.
Mid second game, like I was having panic attacks, and then I just started doing really dumb things. Like none of the builds I did were anything that I practiced. It was nothing that like I thought about. I just did it. I wanted to get out of it very quickly.
Gotcha. Okay. So you were mostly just struggling with the physical ramifications as opposed to anything else. Because I was hoping to see that what would you say, the level of power that you had shown, that you said that you should be confident after winning if you roll Terran on Spinal Tap and win, and that's exactly what happened. So I thought maybe your mindset would be more clear, but more of a struggle than we thought, perhaps, going into the next set of games.
Yeah, it was very rough.
Hopefully you're still able to get back in fighting shape and so on. I mean, obviously everybody's looking forward to hoping to see you Dumpster Shambler in the lower bracket, but we'll see about that as time goes on. Obviously plenty of time before then to see what happens. But that being said, your moves against Neblime, I think some of the moves, especially on Spinal Tap, that definitely was something that people can look at. That's a new style I know you've been prepping, is the Talos-oriented stuff with, sort of emulating Aoud in a way, because he was the one who was doing that for a while, but you've been doing it more for a macro advantage. Did that end up working exactly like you predicted, or were the Acantor drops not on the menu in your mind? Like, tell me a little bit about that one that you won. I know you said you were shaking a bit, but maybe before that started to set in, you were feeling pretty good about the Talos?
It felt all right. I knew for certain that if I got into a macro game with Neblime, I was heavily favored.
Mm-hmm.
But I should have kept going with that.
Right, yeah. There was an opportunity to potentially see some earlier Bactyl switch in Game 2 as well that Vic and I were eagerly awaiting, because I thought at that point when you see the idols come out, and also the Gladius. Was it you, HitEmUp, who said at one point that the answer to Mask Gladius is just to get enough Bactyls, or is it the inverse, where enough Gladius on top of the Bactyls beats them? I can't remember what the final verdict on that particular matchup was.
I mean, the amount of Bactylus I could have made early if I just cut units and didn't make fucking Athracores.
Yeah, there's no.
I would have curb
I was
stomped his
wondering.
armies so hard.
Right, yeah, because it was mostly idle units in like the back line that were still. At that point, the Zealots become a liability because they just bounce everything to the back, right? So that might have been a good move.
To me, like, the blind played well, but I think I was my own enemy this match.
I gotcha, yeah. It can be difficult to shake that kind of stuff, but I do appreciate you sticking it out for the closing interview after. And like I was saying, I mean, talking about people, who are your biggest enemies, surely the Shambler is a bigger enemy than yourself, surely. I mean, just think about it. I guess he did try to curse you in between the games, so.
He's been private messaging me constantly, being an annoying little prick, so.
So there you go. Got to rally and just talk about curb stomping. We can. What was it? American History X. Just go ahead and see about that. But that being said, your boy Top Ramen and your other boy Art of Turtle are going to be duking it out in the lower bracket on the opposite side. I did want to pick your brains a little bit about that matchup, because I know you even said in the pregame interview, you really know a lot about Top Ramen's style. Are you with me in that you think he's the favorite for that matchup?
I think he wins 3-0.
Wow, okay. That would be Art of Turtle going winless in Throneroom if it happens. But I guess Ramen did look pretty good versus Zerg in his Battlements group. And I guess you also would know better than I do, because you've played countless practice games against him, and also probably a decent amount against AOT, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I played quite a bit of them against both of them.
As many games against Aoud, I feel like he's a little bit more slippery, harder to get games with him.
Played maybe like 10, 11 games against Eud.
Okay.
I don't tend to drop matches against him, but he seems scarier than
Ramen, or right, yeah. Well, I mean, he is going up against Hamster, and Neblime was predicting that Aoud would have a slight edge. I think you said that Aoud should have a stronger edge than, like, a more significant. So would you end up predicting Aoud to take that matchup as well?
I think he'll be way too strong defensively and macro-wise for Hamster to do much, to be fair, but maybe Hamster could prove me wrong.
Yeah, I mean, he proved me wrong, because I was predicting Shambler to beat him. I know that was maybe an unpopular pick, considering just before I even talk about actual analysis, just look at the number of people who are in the Anti-Shambler Society, dude. That's a lot of people. But that being said, Clan Ass continuing to reign supreme. Ass on ass violence has concluded. I guess I'll just leave it there for you if you have any closing thoughts or final words you want to say before we move on in our days.
Congrats to Neblime. Sorry I played terribly.
There's always another game. That's what I say. And that game one, it was looking pretty hot. So got to channel that energy into your next set, and I will be seeing you.
Yeah,
throughout
game
the
one
week.
was definitely very convincing, and if I was Neblime, I'd probably lose my shit.
Yeah. Well, there is that as well. Neblime is like unshakable in that aspect. So
Yeah.
we'll just have to see if somebody can knock him on his rocker, so to speak. But hey, hit him up. Thank you for joining us for the interview. Thank you for playing. We'll see you in about a week's time.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
See you.
GG's. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to a decision over here. And by we, I of course mean Neblime taking it 3-1 over HitEmUp. We're talking about all kinds of action coming at you throughout the weekend. This is our only match today, but day 4 tomorrow is going to be another single match, the Shambler versus Cannoli. A lot of people predicting Shambler. Of course, HitEmUp trying to will Cannoli's upset into existence, especially now after the fate of his matchup here. I'm sure, maybe not though. Maybe now HitEmUp is like, nah, actually Shambler should beat Cannoli, so I can beat Shambler. You know, you never know between those two. But all that being said, looking into that matchup going forward. And of course, on Sunday, we will have a 2-piece for you back to those regular schedules where we got 2 series in one day. We will have semifinal number 2, AUD 64 against Hamster, and Elimination 1A. That's going to be Top Ramen against Art of Turtle. I hope you guys are excited about those. Vic, thank you for joining me for the cast. Do you have any final thoughts or closing words for the overall thing? How did you feel about this matchup?
Pretty epic, and definitely inspiring how mentally resilient Neblime was. And interesting to see. It's interesting to see some units that I didn't expect. Like, I didn't expect idols pre-changes to be used, and they were pretty decent. And obviously HitEmUp did some mistakes, but
well, he also leveraged
unfortunate.
Matadors early on, which I wasn't expecting.
I mean, the first
so
game
that was pretty cool.
Pretty epic.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know why he got stressed after the first one, because the first one was very convincing.
Right.
I'd be hyped after that, but I guess tourneys can be stressful.
They can be, yeah. And he did mention that he didn't get much sleep leading into this, so that could have been a factor.
Yeah, right.
I almost feel like HitEmUp needs like, I guess me on a soundboard, just constantly playing like, oh my god, HitEmUp's amazing, or whatever, and then just hype himself back up, after each match or whatever. And so I don't know. There's got to be something he can do to pocket that and figure it out. But all right, flawless run no longer. HitEmUp falls to the lower bracket. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's where we will be going pretty soon. Not for that matchup, but for the Shambler and Cannoli. We hope you will join us tomorrow. And I can't remember the time, but I'll, of course, be updating you guys about that later on. In fact, let me just go ahead and pull that up right now to figure that out. Looks like it will be at 3 o'clock Eastern. So actually, 10 minutes from now, 24 hours from now. There you go. That's what I got for you. Ladies and gentlemen, that has been semifinal number 1. GG's. And once again, Vic, thanks for showing up and casting.
Yeah.
Peace.
See you.